Today we're going to learn a new chapter called When Wishes Come True. Here in this chapter, the main characters are Subal Chandra and Sushil Chandra, who are father and son. Okay, both have an unusual thing, and it's common for both of them. They were exactly the opposite to their names. Sushil in Hindi, it's an Indian name, so Sushil means someone who is calm and quiet, right? But Sushil was exactly the opposite of that. Subal means someone who's very strong. But again, contrary to the name that he had, so Sushil's father was a very weak person. He was old, he was weak, and he also had the problem of rheumatism. What is rheumatism? It is a problem, it's a health disorder which people get during their old age. So there's pain and ache all over the body when you have rheumatism. So, how was their relationship? Both the father and the son, they used to actually repel each other. The father did not like the son's penchant for antics, so he was very mischievous. And Sushil was also too agile for his father, and he could easily fool his father all the time, right? And because of which he used to get nice beatings from his father. So here, one day in the first page of this lesson, it is mentioned that Sushil once had a geography test in his school, and he wanted to skip that, and so he does a drama, and he tells his father that he's not well and he won't be able to go to the school. His main intention was to stay at home and look at the firework that his neighbor was going to do, right? Entire neighborhood made with antics. This is about the boy, and it's written. Sushil had and school would be over, but Sushil was in no mood to go to school for a number of reasons. First one was because he had this geography test, and second because there was a display of fireworks at Bose's. That means Bose's means his neighbor Bose, right? So he had a firework display at his house, and he did not want to miss that at all. So he acted as if he had stomach ache. Now the father was also not less. Subal, who knew his son very well, said, "Oh, stomach ache," and he knew that he was actually uh, only acting, and it was not real. So what did he do? He said that, "Oh, I have some lozenges. Lozenges means toffees, all right." So he says, "I had bought some lozenges for you, but now since you are not well, I won't be able to give you those lozenges, but instead of that I will give you some brew." Brew means a medicine. Okay, so herbs are mixed and then boiled, and then they are they are fed to the patient in a liquid form, which is absolutely tasteless. Now, Sushil then jumped out of the bed and he said, "Oh, I'm fine right now and I don't have any problem and I'm just going to school." But the father won't agree, and he locked Sushil inside, and then he made him drink that yucky, tasteless brew. And he locks Sushil inside his room, and he goes outside and he is lost in his own thoughts. So in one end, here it is said that it so happened that goddess who grants wish was passing by just then. Now, by just then means, it means Sushil from inside his room was wishing that he could be Sushil was wishing that he was an old person when nobody, he was, yeah, older, and his father, he wished that he was able to do whatever he wanted. Now that his father was there, he's always dominated by his father, so he wanted to be free. And what did the father wish? The father wished that he could be young again, and he remembered how hard he wanted to study as a young boy, and he wished that he was young again and he could study hard. And right at that moment, the goddess of wishes, who grants wishes, she was supposed to be passing by. And when she heard them wishing for these things, she actually grants the wish. And then tomorrow, she says, "Tomorrow morning you will be as young as your son." She says that to Subal, and to Sushil, she says, "From tomorrow you're going to be as old as your father." And then usually the next morning, both of them, they change. Okay, and the son becomes the father, and the father becomes the son. So the old man turned to Sushil and advised him to, so he wouldn't have the lozenges. So he couldn't have the lozenges. That was one loss that he had, Sushil. And now he was finding himself the next day when he gets up, he sees Subal could not get up at all, and he could not sleep towards the early part of the Subal, who was the old man, he actually could not get sleep, because old people have this problem most of the time. The old people, they can't sleep at night easily, but the children at the same time, they fall asleep just as they fall down. So the old people, Subal was able to sleep late at night. But now what happened? Sushil woke up at the crack of the dawn and ran about the house, and was hardly able to open his eyes. When he finally did succeed in shaking his sleep, it was only because his father was making such a racket outside. So who is the father now? Father is actually Subal, but now it's Sushil in his body. Sushil woke up to find that his clothes were all tight, because he was a small boy and now he is in his father's body, so he was finding it very tight. Nearly half his face was covered with salt. His appearance also changed, and now he had a bald patch. He had wrinkles all over his face, and he was an old man right now. And half of his face was covered with salt and pepper, beard and mustache. Now, salt and pepper, beard and mustache means black and white hair. Okay, and there was no trace of hair, so he had become bald, and he was shocked to see that appearance of himself, right? What seemed even stranger was that he did not want to get out of the bed. So when he was young, like when he was Sushil, he would get out of the bed. He was very active, but now that he was old, he is not finding it very easy to get up actively, and he had to yawn, he had to turn over his side, and then finally he decided to stay in the bed for a longer time. Both father and son had got exactly what they had wished for. Now, that is what they were wishing for, and that is what they got. But they did not anticipate the complications which came along with, which were going to come along with it. Now, their age has changed, and with the age, there are many things which are going to change. So there would be no one to. So Sushil was very happy, thinking that now he can, he could jump into the swimming, he could swim in the pond, he could climb trees, he could roam around in the wild, and there would be no one to stop him. He also wanted to climb trees, and he actually tried, and now he couldn't, because he now was an old man, right? And he fell down. And when he fell down, his friends also started laughing at him. He spread a mat on the veranda and sat there lost in his thoughts. Finally, he decided he should not give up thinking he was fond of. So he goes there, and then the passers-by were amazed to see that an old man is trying to climb a tree. And then when he falls down, they all burst out laughing. Okay. And Sushil's friends, who had played with him just the previous evening, now they were looking at this old man, and they were actually laughing at him, and then they ran for their lives when he was angry and he was shouting at them. They had no idea that it was actually Sushil himself. So Sushil, when he approached them to play with them, they just ran away. They did not want to play with an old man. You would remember, of course, that once upon a time, Subal had told himself that if he ever got back his lost childhood, he would lock himself up in his study and pore over. This is mentioned in the earlier half of the chapter. He told himself, and that is when the goddess of wishes had appeared and granted his wish. Now what happens? Now that he was young again, he hated the very thought of studying. Okay, now this old Subal is young, and now he is acting like Sushil, actually, because Sushil didn't like to study, and this is exactly how he is behaving according to his age. Sushil was very angry, and Sushil behaves like the father, and he is very angry at his son. Father, aren't you going to school today? And Subal looked down and now he is making excuses, just like his son had made, oh, stomachache and everything. And then the son now tells his father that, oh, I am very well aware of all your excuses. Don't try to trick on me. And then he, allows him to go to school. So Sushil had known so many different ways of playing truant, and the memory was still so fresh in his mind that it was quite impossible for his poor father to fool him. So Sushil knows everything because he used to make these excuses, and the father could not continue making any excuses. Sushil forced his young father to go to school. And when Subal returned in the evening and longed to go out and play, it was time for old Sushil to wear his glasses and read Ramayana aloud to himself. Subal's noisy presence disturbed him. So now the father is irritated because he has an old body and he's old, so he cannot bear any noise and everything. And he is now ready to read Ramayana. Imagine the small boy reading Ramayana, right? So now Sushil is very careful about his food. So Sushil, when the young Sushil was not careful about his food, right? But now because he is old, he has to be careful about his food. Otherwise, he's going to have digestive problems. And if he overeats, again, he's going to have acidity. So Sushil remembered everything, and he remembered it very well. And he also stopped his young father from eating all his fill. He was just warning them. He's warning him that, father, you're not supposed to eat all these. All right. So although he was young, he was not supposed to eat all of these. So this is exactly what Subal used to do to his son, and now Sushil is doing this to Subal. Also, there are many evidences, many things, many incidents that happen like that. Now, old Sushil also had his own problems. He soon realized that nothing of what used to be second nature now suited him anymore. Now he used to get irregular, so the irregular hours gifted him a cold, cough, and severe body ache, right? Because he didn't follow any routine as such because he was an adult. So with that, he also got many health problems like body ache, and he would be lazy, he would slow, right? Young Sushil had loved to take his daily dip in the pond, but now what is he doing? He's stopping Subal to do that. Right now, since Sushil is the father now he's stopping uh, Subal to do that because Subal is a young father and he is saying, no, 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 you should not take bath in the pond. Otherwise, you will get rheumatism and it will increase. So, and then he just stopped. He also didn't take bath and he would let the son also take bath. Okay, Subal too forgot at times that he was no longer old. He would go and join. So he forgets that he was actually a young man now and he's not supposed to sit with the old people and make fun of them. But that is exactly what he would do. Also, forgetting that he did not look old, he would also, Subal, who was the young child, right? Now the young child, he goes to his tutor and asks him for a puff of tobacco. And imagine how would the tutor behave? He would cane him, means beat him. Soundly, he would nicely beat him in his leg, and then he would punish him, his punishment for his impertinence. That means impertinence means his misbehavior, right? And then the elderly Sushil would flare up and say, is this the kind of manners they're teaching you in school these days? How dare you? And the father would also, say the same thing. That small boy, he's now telling his father's tutor that, how dare you chew tobacco and everything? And how dare you ask for tobacco to your teacher? Enough was after all enough. And then finally, both of them, Subal, now prayed with all his might, all his heart to regain his old age. He did not want to be young anymore. And so did Sushil. He also wanted to go back to his young age. Enough was after enough with all his heart that he might regain his lost age and independence, which he had been foolish enough to pass on to Sushil. So that's how both of them, they get back their lost bodies and they come back to their real form. Now, there is a worksheet that I have prepared. It's a multiple choice worksheet, but I have put in at least 14 to 15 questions. I would like you to go ahead and click on the link below and try to solve that worksheet to see if you have understood this lesson properly. If there is any doubt or any questions that you would like to ask, please feel free to write it in the comment box.